podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 801, recorded Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. Machine Gun Clippy. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect yourself with a VPN I use and trust. Use my link at expressvpn.com/MacBreak today and get an extra 3 months free with a 1-year package. And by ZocDoc. In this chaotic world of healthcare, let ZocDoc be your trusted guide to find a quality doctor in a way that's surprisingly pain-free. Go to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak, download the ZocDoc app for free, and start your search for a top-rated doctor, many available within 24 hours. And by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit and get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. It's time for MacBreak Weekly! Yay! Tuesday has come around once again, as it is wont to do, which means it's time to talk about the latest news from Apple with Renee Ritchie of YouTube fame, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie, Forbes magazine top 50,000 moneymakers on YouTube or something.
I don't even know if I'm top 50,000, Leo. You gotta, I don't know. Those lists are so funny anyway. It's like if The Rock makes one YouTube video, is he the highest paid YouTuber? Because he made it's all just, you know.
I think they're probably right. Mr. Beast probably is number one, right? He's in there. Yeah.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
He does all right.
That's Alex Lindsay. He knows a little bit about monetizing the stream, except Office Hours is free. But anyway, officehours.global, 090.media.
Yeah, at 090, we help people monetize their stream, or we produce streams that are worth monetizing. And at 090, we mostly just talk about it. So,
yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Office Hours, we just talk about it.
Yeah. Nothing but. Also with us, Andy Anako from WGBH, who is soon going to monetize his Pez dispenser collection, I think.
I should point out that I'm the person who pivoted from print newspaper writing to terrestrial radio. Please don't take my advice on money or anything. I've done this dumb thing, which is that looks like a good way to spend the day. This looks like this will be challenging and interesting. I should have had that conversation with myself at 23, saying, yeah, but maybe you want to have a real estate license in addition to that, because they don't give you a lot of money for doing things you love.
I just got an email from my boss at the radio syndicator Premiere saying, congratulations on 15 years in syndication.
Wow.
I went,
your iPhone old.
What? and then, but I wrote back, I said, actually, last month was my 45th year in broadcasting. So, wow. That's a long time. I remember when I first started thinking, I'll never get to 5 years of experience. How am I going to get these jobs? They all say 3 to 5 years of experience required.
Was radio black and white back then, Leo?
Yeah, it was. It was amazing.
That correctly?
Man, those were the days. No, actually, it was all. It was a lot.
I got about 2 years in. I thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life, and that was it.
Yeah, you were smart. It took me a while to figure that out.
I got fired. That's how I got out of it.
All right.
I got fired.
No, you were smart because, in fact, we were talking about this in the Club Twit Discord the other day. What's fun as a hobby turns out to be horrible as a job. Yeah. And I thought in college radio, I love this. I get to play the music I love, make great segues, talk to the people. Then I got a real job, and it's like, play this, push a button, no more than 20 words, read the weather. And it's like, that's assembly line work. That's not.
Yeah, but it's. I got to say, I would like to be negotiating on closing the sale on my fourth vacation home right now. But there's something to be said for being deep into middle age and still thinking that, wow, I can't wait to do. I'm so enjoying doing this podcast. Once this podcast is done, I can't wait. I can't wait to go do this next thing that I got to do, because if I had become an attorney or an accountant, it would have been a great 10 years. Those 10 years would have been great. I would have bought so much stuff during those 10 years, but then I would be one of those guys who's like, you know what? Maybe living in a camper van and having no fixed address for the rest of my life. I think at 43, that's what I want to do. I don't, because I don't like people. I don't like procedures anymore.
Nothing wrong with a van by the river. Nothing wrong with it.
But being a jock, I don't think I could have done for. But I was, as a music director, it was kind of the life. Like a music music director for
in
an
those
R&R.
days.
In the old days, a music director for an R&R parallel was like a good time, especially when you're 21 years old. Yeah. It was great. Yeah, but every night it was really bad for my liver. So it was, but I did imagine, I did project out forward, looking at everyone around me, going, probably going to have a 30-year-old van by the river.
I know a lot of radio people. That's exactly what.
But you can't. It's hard to give up. You're hanging out with the bands.
You love it. It's fun.
It's a good life. Yeah.
No, thank God I found podcasting and changed.
I turned it over. Yeah, exactly.
Turned it over. I know so many people in radio. Still, Hawaii, they just laid off pretty much all of the best-known Hawaiian radio people. Just all got fired, and it's like 30 years and nothing. What do you got to show for it? Nothing. So
that's why part of this component is, if you can work for yourself and do the thing that you love, that's better than, oh boy, if I get fired from this job, I'm totally screwed. It's like I think all of us have like parts of the story, which is like, my God, oh no, this newspaper folded, or oh no, they stopped doing the show. It's like, if I lose 6 more jobs, I could be in real trouble here.
No, in fact, every one of us has a freelance career. I guess, Alex, you work for somebody, but I think you're still pretty much your own boss.
Yeah, I'm kind of left to my own devices as long as I keep generating revenue.
Exactly. You've started many a business, and we're all kind of there was some point where we were in Vegas and a bunch of us were having dinner, and all of us had started companies, and they were all about the same size. All had about 30 employees or so, and we were talking about it, and we realized that none of us had gone to college and finished college. We'd all started college, no one had finished it, and we were wondering like what the connection was. And someone brought up that it was like, well, when you don't have a college degree, there's a little voice in the back of your head that always says, the next job after this is McDonald's. That's funny. That's exactly what that voice in my head says.
Keeps you moving,
Hey, it's not really an Apple story, but boy, what a big story broke this morning. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, we were all talking about it this morning.
Microsoft buying Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, for a massive amount of money. Of course, this is the company that's been very troubled by accusations of harassment, misogyny, mistreatment of women, a frat culture. But they also make some of the biggest games in the world. And Microsoft,
70 Instagrams, Leo? Was that the amount? 70 Instagrams?
70 Instagrams, something like that. Yeah.
And worth every penny. I mean, it was incredible. 68 Instagrams, I think, directly. I mean, specifically
$68 billion.
Yeah. Who decided it was 68 instead of 70? That's the one. Like, how did they negotiate that down? Someone said 75, someone said 63, and they were like, how about 70?
Meet you in the middle.
Or as the New York Times says, nearly 70 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny when $1.7 billion is like, that's a small, nearly $70 billion. Billion here, billion there. Pretty much it adds up.
I do think it's an Apple story in the sense that Apple's going to have to get more serious about how they view games. I mean, they already pay a lot of attention to games, but Microsoft now has made a big move. I mean, they already have Xbox, they have Minecraft, they have, they have a lot of Halo, right? Exactly. So there's a lot of things that they already have, and it really puts them in a really interesting position. I think in a better position than the folks that are ahead of them. They have Sony and others that are a little ahead of them in the game area. But I think that the rest of Microsoft's infrastructure, from Azure and everything else, really puts them in a pole position to do some really interesting things, especially as it pertains to the metaverse.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember that one of the companies that Steve Jobs absolutely admired and really kind of wanted to emulate in the early days was Sony, because he loved how they were telling a story through their products. Their products are really well designed. And of course, one of the biggest pivoting moments of Sony was when they said, "Hey, you know what? We're having problems with people browbeating record companies and supporting our compact disc format and our DAT format and all those other formats. You know what? Let's just open the checkbooks. Let's just buy CBS Records. Become our own music company." Exactly. And just keep buying these companies because not only will it be great for our hardware line, it'll be great for just for our bottom line. And so Apple, I know I know that Alex, you've talked a little bit about, gee, maybe Apple should try to buy Disney or something. It makes a lot of sense on that basis, where workers control the means of production, but when big corporations also control the means of creative output, yeah, that's a good place to be.
As an employee of Epic Records when that happened, it was the best because you got 60% off all the Sony gear and you could buy it for your friends. We said, "Can I buy it? How much can I buy? Can I buy it for my friends?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, you can buy it for your friends." And I was like, "Why? Why are we allowed to buy it for our friends?" And they said, "Just don't sell it somewhere, but you can buy it for people and give it to them, and they can pay you for it and everything else." And I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Influence." Everyone wants to be friends with a Sony employee because they can get them everything off at 60% off.
Worked out great for Bob Crane.
Yeah, but it made a huge difference. Yeah, worked for Bob Crane.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm 10 years old. I will shut up.
Yeah, but it was the Sony, it broke all kinds of things for Sony. To go into that area, to be specific. But I think that. We talked about in office hours this morning. There are just a myriad of potential possibilities of what Microsoft can do with this. It's gonna really give them some. It's gonna be really interesting. It's a great purchase for both of them.
Turn them into the largest gaming company in the world. They bought, as you mentioned, Mojang, Minecraft. Yeah. They bought ZeniMax, which owns Bethesda. So that's id Software. They own now some of the biggest franchises in gaming: Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft, and let's not forget Candy Crush, because King is also part of that deal.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think one of the things that makes this possible is the fact that all the antitrust scrutiny right now is at Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple. Nobody notice Microsoft.
Yeah, they didn't even have to show up, right?
They didn't even go to Washington
and
testify. So I think that because obviously at this point they're such a big, dominant aggregator of gaming companies. I think there should be regulatory.
I think it
sounds like there might be, though. There's like a 2-year window, and it seems like the new legislation that they're drafting is specifically targeted for these kinds of mergers and acquisitions.
Get it done now, in other words.
That they have. No, I think they didn't get it done soon enough. It sounds like they're going to fall right in the sweet spot of this stuff ramping up.
Yeah, and I think that what'll be interesting is to see what happens to 2K games, to a lot of other, there's a other. Yeah, I mean, all of the, well, Tencent, because it's Chinese, probably won't go anywhere. But as far as it'll go somewhere, it's a huge company.
Well, that's why there needs to be regulation, because it does make it hard for everybody else now, especially since Microsoft not only has all these studios, they have the Xbox. In fact, if I were Sony, I'd be complaining like crazy because Microsoft says, "Oh, we're not going to make these exclusive." Yeah, sure. So at some point,
today, Leo.
Yeah, not today. So at some point, PlayStation's going to really be challenged by this.
Well, the question really is as you look forward towards, we spent all of yesterday with an NFT expert, and once you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. After office hours yesterday was all NFT, and when you think about it, there's a point where you start moving potentially from selling the game to giving the game away so that you can take a piece off of all the commerce.
Well, that's kind of happening already. That's freemium. Yeah, I mean, that's an NFT maybe make that more of a even scammier situation, but I don't think
it potentially could. I'm just saying but what I'm saying is exclusivity may not be what they're looking for. I mean, at this point, the numbers could be so much bigger if they are.
I'm thinking the regulatory problems are going to crop up.
There was a really good tweet from Ashley Esqueda where she said Microsoft just wants to be the Netflix of games before Netflix is a Netflix of games.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix is already hiring.
Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Netflix doesn't buy 1 or 2 game companies in relatively short order. I mean, the next year or so, because they're already hiring staff for it. They're hiring up. I mean, that's public. I mean, you can see it on LinkedIn or whatever. So they're hiring people to manage games. So Netflix is definitely coming down that path.
So
the thing that exasperates me so much is that Apple, like all this is going on, everyone is looking at this, and Apple is basically still treating games like discs on a shelf. They're not even letting Game Pass onto the App Store the way that they let Netflix and Disney Plus onto the App Store. And it just
where
seems
does
like
Apple go? Where does Apple go? Though honestly, they're not none of these games, these are AAA games, are appearing even on the Mac, really. It's PC and console gaming.
No, they make all their money off IAPs and casual games.
Yeah, Apple owns casual gaming. Does this maybe, in a way, it's maybe better for Apple because let those guys fight it out.
If they let Game Pass on, it would be so good for Apple. Like if they just became the platform where we take whatever 8 to 15% of every transaction.
This is Microsoft's
it would be bananas,
all-you-can-eat gaming platform. And in fact, one of the stories this week is that Fortnite is back on the iPhone, but through the back door in the browser, thanks to NVIDIA's GeForce Now. So that's going to be a problem for Apple. Can you
imagine if they said like Netflix and Disney Plus have to put each individual title in the iTunes store?
They did say.
Actually have a Netflix.
That's what they wanted, right? Oh, you mean every movie?
That for games, but that was as dumb in hindsight as this is forward thinking.
I kind of want, actually, as a podcast network, to have individual apps for each show. Like we should have a MacBreak.
Don't say it, Leo. They'll do it so fast.
We should have
They'll
a
make
MacBreak
you do it so
Weekly
fast.
app. It's pretty easy to do, and I'm actually kind of thinking about doing that one per show. Because you know why? What you really want, if you're an app developer, you want to be an icon on the screen.
You want real estate.
You want real estate.
And the company that's really done that really well is Vimeo. So Vimeo has an entire OTT, they'll build the app for you. So, and then you can put the content in, you can manage subscriptions, advertising, all that stuff through it. And they'll build it across, you just tell it what platform you want and you can build it across all of them. And it's so much less expensive than building yours. I used to think,
all the players do that. The JDK player we used does that. Everybody, so does Cashfly's player. That's the idea, right? Is you white label it and put it everywhere.
Then Apple occasionally bans those for being not useful apps because they're just web wrappers around content. Then
this isn't. Go back to the Vimeo is a native app that it built for you that is using their infrastructure to do that. It's not a web app or something like that.
Well, also that's where Google is trying to go after their typical. We have a master plan for gaming. We're calling it Stadia, and it's going to plan this next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then of course three months later they change all their plans, and now they're basically gotten rid of all their studios, and they're turning themselves into a white label gaming service for people who, again, if you want to do if Domino's wants to do a new version of the Noid game, they'll be able to wrap it and ship it as a mobile game. But yeah, I think that a lot of people who are not young people ignore that games are not just, hey, I'm going to put this floppy inside my Apple II and I'm going to play Lemmings, I'm going to play Karateka for a little while, and then after my mom yells at me, I'm going to stop playing Karateka and I'm going to go back to my homework. Gaming is on the exact same level as music, exactly on the same level as TV, movies, maybe even a larger level, that if you don't have, if your devices, if your logo is not associated with a good gaming experience, you may as well say, wow, it's a great iPad, but wow, movies really look crappy on it. So
yeah, the thing is that step up. Apple's making a lot of money on the casual games, so I think they're doing okay.
They certainly are, but they're missing a trick. That's all I think.
Yeah, and I think that what all of them are missing right now is they don't really understand. I mean, the games right now are very popular, but they are still a small fraction compared to like sports. And the reason for that is that they still build games for gamers as opposed to games for average spectators. And that's where there's going to be a breakout title somewhere. But if you look at all the sports, whether it's baseball or soccer or football or hockey or cricket, the entire field is visible almost the entire time. And so someone's going to build much more arena-style systems that are much more visceral. And when they do that, and there's a lot of places that, as someone who's worked in and out of the game industry for 20 years, there's a lot of open space that still could be taken, that doesn't look like anything that we're doing right now, that's really built for viewers. The reason that American football does so well is because it's really great for TV, and so that's, and I think that we haven't seen any games like that yet. I know Overwatch is supposed to be
esports is the next. I agree, esports is the next huge.
It's still too geeky. That's the problem with it.
They'll figure it out.
Open it up.
They'll figure it out.
If they figure it out, it's going to replace regular sports because you can do things with the cameras and put them in places and create adrenaline in a way that you really can't do in the real world.
It's going to absolutely.
Are we worried at all that Microsoft's not doing original IP like Super Clippy World or Steve Ballmer in a Smash Brothers clone?
Are we worried?
Steve Ballmer in a Smash Brothers clone so fast.
Are we
First-person shooter with Clippy?
Developers,
Just imagine Clippy with
boom.
Sorry, but Clippy with a machine gun. I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head. Clippy running around.
It'd be like the cups, but with Clippies.
Mark for
Clippy's
Showtime.
back, and he's mad as hell.
Microsoft Office, the first-person shooter version. I mean, like, there's just so much potential here.
I wouldn't be interested in the games, but I would definitely be like on YouTube looking for a compilation of all the cutscenes from that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, can I help you with anything?
You could play as Bill Gates.
Help yourself to die. Oh no! Rubber Bandy! Oh no! Post notey!
I see you're trying to massacre an entire warehouse of illegal aliens. Would you like some help? No, I'm sorry. That was even darker than Bob Hogan's Heroes, Bob Crane.
Because you're watching The Expanse.
Let's take a little break before we go down that road, shall we? And when we come back, I want you to reassure me about Apple's latest security issue. But first, speaking of security, a word from ExpressVPN. I know you've heard me talking about privacy, protecting it, security at the coffee shop. I know you've heard me talk about watching Netflix from other countries because you've used up all the Netflix in the U.S. A VPN can do so much for you, but it's so important. So important. I really want to emphasize this, that you choose the right VPN. There are a lot of free VPN providers. There are a lot of crappy VPN providers. And if you choose the wrong one, you're really not improving your condition at all. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. First of all, yeah, sure, good for privacy. Your internet service provider or carrier can no longer see what you're doing online. Google doesn't know it's you because it's a different IP address. But if that VPN provider's sketch, they see it all. So you want to make sure it's a VPN provider that respects your privacy. ExpressVPN does. In fact, they go the extra mile to do so with their trusted server technology. It lives in RAM. It cannot write to drive. It cannot log your presence, and it disappears when you disconnect. There is no trace left. A lot of cheap VPNs don't buy enough bandwidth. You can't watch HD video. You could barely use them. In fact, that's really given VPNs a bad name. ExpressVPN is fast. It's fast. It keeps up. In fact, they have now something called Lightway they use. It's a new VPN protocol that makes speeds fast enough, yes, for HD video with zero buffering. Fast enough so that if you put ExpressVPN on your router, which you can do, protect your whole house, but no one will even know. They'll not complain. They'll just say, well, it's, somehow everything's better. It is. The other thing, of course, it sets ExpressVPN apart, besides the fact that they're affordable, less than $7 a month, secure, private, and fast, is they're easy to use. When I first started using a VPN, I remember these days, I was using it to log onto the radio station. It was a nightmare. You had to run a client, and oh my gosh. Now, you just get the ExpressVPN app, push a button, you're connected, it's done. Anybody can do it. Grandpa can do it. And it's not just me saying this. Business Insider, The Verge, many tech journals rate ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. I don't think there's any question about it. Fast. They've got 160 locations in 94 countries. Easy to watch video from any of those countries in high def. Because they're in 160 locations, they're close to where you are. That also makes them faster. And they do zero logging. In fact, they have third-party audits on a regular basis to prove that their privacy policy is what they say it is, that their trusted server does what it says it does. Protect yourself with a VPN, the only VPN I use and trust. ExpressVPN.com/MacBreak. Go there right now. You'll get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package. That's the best deal. ExpressVPN.com/MacBreak. We thank them so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly. We thank you supporting MacBreak Weekly by using that address so they know you saw it here. ExpressVPN.com/MacBreak. All right, talk me down off the cliff, because it looks like, according to fingerprintjs.com, there is a leak in Safari that Apple knows about and says they have a patch for, but haven't fixed. A leak that could leak things like your Google account, websites you've recently visited, lots of information. It's the index DB that leaks out, and that has a lot of information in it. Renee, is this overblown, or is it a genuine issue?
No, I mean, it's terrible. Like it should be fixed. It sounds like they have fixed it. They just haven't rolled out the fix yet. It's not like a hack sort of it's not like malware or anything like that. It's a data privacy breach, but those are terrible. And I think that in a lot of ways, Apple's measure 8 times, cut once strategy of only addressing these things when they're actually fixed hurts them, because people assume that they're ignoring the problem, especially when you hear dates being thrown around like November and now it's January. And you're like, well, where is it?
You can go to Safari.
So I'm not talking you down, Leo. I'm just standing at the edge of the cliff.
You're not helping. No.
We're holding on to each other at the edge of the cliff.
If you want to get scared, go to safarileaks.com. It's been up and down. I guess maybe there are a lot of people using it right now, and probably it'll be down now that I've mentioned it. But safarileaks.com, yeah, Apple's blocking it, I guess. Maybe it's the VPN. I can go on my Linux box, but I can't go on my iPhone. And, of course, it means nothing. You have to be using a WebKit browser. As all browsers
it makes people angry, especially
on iOS,
because like on the desktop you can just switch to Chrome or you can switch to something else and not worry about it until Apple recovers. But like on iOS, Apple only allows WebKit as a rendering engine. So even if you change to Chrome or you change to Firefox, you're still using WebKit under the covers. And in some cases, that's helpful because it limits the amount of active exploit surface. But when there's an actual active exploit, it's not helpful.
The reason this is kind of a big deal is because it was reported to the WebKit bug tracker on November 28th of last year. Yeah. And Apple still has not fixed it. And Apple has had, unfortunately, there have been other cases where Apple has been slow to respond to bugs. Apple did say this week, yesterday, that they have merged potential fixes into the WebKit source code.
I don't know if they said. I think people just saw that they did it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can go look and see it. That's right.
Because sometimes, like, there's famous instances where fixing a bug destroys a ton of stuff, and it's really hard to fix the bug. Like there were Safari bugs that they had to go back 4 or 5 years to fix everything. So they take a while, but they don't communicate during that period. So we don't know if they just didn't do it, if they ignored it, if they did it but it broke something else, if they're still trying to we have zero information to feel comforted or terrified by at this point.
Because WebKit is open source, you can actually go to WebKit on GitHub and see the patch. So it has been merged in.
And download the nightlies if you want.
Yeah, I guess if you got the nightlies, you'd have that.
Yeah.
So
you would like a little bit more transparency. I think that according to this Fingerprints.js article and a couple others I saw, I could be wrong, but there wasn't a whole lot of information about whether Apple was acknowledging this and moving on it. That only until like earlier this week was there outside tangible evidence that they were working on this. They were seeing this as something that they're going to have to fix. And you'd like to the person who reported it to at least be able to say, okay, I see a red receipt on this and a smile and a frowny face emoji. They understand this. They're going to be working on this somehow.
So to be clear, it's not a hack. It's just a leak of information from IndexedDB. But it could be some, for instance, your Google user ID. It could be stuff that could have problems.
I mean, just being able to see what open window, what websites do you have in other open windows and tabs? That's a big deal, even if it's just that for a multitude of reasons.
And not all websites interact with IndexedDB, but many do. A lot of the big ones do. Privacy mode, private mode in Safari 15 is not. It does not protect you. It's
no.
So
privacy mode. People get confused, like with privacy and incognito, and they think that it actually hides something. All it does is it doesn't generate records. It's not hiding anything. It's just not generating a record of what you did. Right. So you're still doing all those things, and in real time, people can still see what you're doing.
And when a site interacts with indexed DB database. That has nothing to do with the private browsing, and the interaction still happens. So you're not protected. And yes, absolutely, this could be a horrific bug to fix, and Apple could have been working on this for 3 months. We don't know.
Yeah, night and day. We just don't know.
And I understand why Apple doesn't like to talk about security issues, because that just raises awareness with the bad guys as well as with the good guys. So you could explain why Apple's not saying anything about this. However, now's the time. Step forward.
I mean, you need to. There's nothing as disquieting as finding out that but a third party or the open press has mentioned that there is an open exploitable 0-day on this platform that was reported a year ago, and nobody knows if the company responsible for fixing this has any clue or any care about fixing it. That's when you're like, Okay. Thank you. I've placed my trust in exactly the right laundry basket. I'm very, very happy with this purchase that I made. So there are ways to communicate, at least with the security community, that, okay, I'm aware of it. We're working on it. We're not just simply, it didn't just wind up behind someone's space heater, and it's never going to be addressed.
Now it's time for the Alex Lindsay I Told You So segment. Apple is going to allow dating apps in the Netherlands to use alternative payment systems, but it has to be in a separate app. So now this data app, you'll download one that uses Apple Pay, and you'll download another one that uses whatever the dating app provider wants to use.
You would just have to choose one or the other as the user.
Yeah, you'll have to choose one or the other. So there'll be two apps, competing apps. Apple's going to allow third-party payment systems in Korea. They've accepted that.
I'm just curious, like, why is it dating apps? Like, I haven't figured that out. I've read a bunch of articles. I don't understand, like, what made dating apps separate.
They're serious
everything
about
else
their
is
dating, Alex.
Wow, they are.
Have you ever dated a Dutch?
Literally the country where you go Dutch. No, but that's where like you go Dutch. Like the whole. Like,
yeah, they invented going Dutch. That's right. What am I thinking?
I'm not going to go there. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was. I'm just amazed. I was like, what? I still can't figure it out. Like, what is the dating app thing that makes it okay or makes it special?
I guess it has to do with the ruling from the Netherlands.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Exactly.
To deploy an App Store app with an external payment system, you have to apply for one of two new special entitlements: the Store Kit External Purchase Entitlement or the Store Kit External Link Entitlement. You have to declare what payment processor you're going to use, purchase support URLs, and some other information. Apple will, as of now, only grant those entitlements, as you said, for dating apps in the Netherlands.
Because that's all that was required, and we don't quite agree, and we still don't understand why.
Yeah. South Korea, I think it's the same everywhere. Apple says, we're going to bill you. Dating apps will have to pay Apple a commission on the transactions. Just because you're not using our store doesn't let you off the hook, which I think by itself, Google's going to do that too. Yeah. By itself just means, well, then I'm not going to do it. If I still have to pay 30%.
Well, they're giving, I think Google's giving 4% off or something like that for that processing. The thing is that this is really a rich person's game. You know, like this is not the average developer. This is top 0.001% of developers. So these are rich companies that want to make more money, and so they're the only ones that this is going to make sense to do these separate apps and everything else. And so this is like baseball players striking for more money or actors striking for money. It's not like the average person working at the warehouse striking for $10 more an hour.
They're also being super careful with the 4% because they want to show that the transaction fee is a minimal part of what they provide. Like they want to make sure that everybody, governments, regulators understand that it's the APIs, the platform access, all of that is the value, and the transaction fees are just really minimal. So we'll give you a few percentage off. Go home, you're cute, ruffle your hair, go.
Right. Well, and it's really not this isn't out there to help the average developer, because the average developer won't be affected by it at all. It's not there, definitely not there to provide a better experience for the user. Like this is rich companies putting money into politicians' pockets so that they can get more money. like this is not, because the user is definitely going to have a poor the experience for the user is going to go down. It is empirical. Like it is going to go down for the user on at least the the Mac platform or Apple platform.
Well, let's put it clear, make it clear. Apple's doing everything it can to make it a crappy experience for users.
Yes.
Saying things like you have to have two apps. I mean, Apple's not going to facilitate this in
even
any
if
way.
It's
kind of bad faith. I mean, I know.
All you have to do is go to the App Store. All you have to do is go to the Apple TV and see what happens when an app asks you to go out of the Apple TV. Now you have to go to this web page and sign up for this thing and then do this thing so that you can use your app that you paid for. And so the thing is that what the user wants is to be able to do it through the App Store so that they can, the only users that benefit from opening all the side loading and all the opening is porn. So the thing is after that, the user is better off just sitting there with their little clicker and saying, I would like to be charged for it. Now I have a place to manage my subscriptions. I can easily turn it off. I can easily turn it on. I can do all the things that's the best user experience. The best experience for rich companies is to have some kind of outer area that they will force the users eventually to use. And that's the issue.
Yeah. Well, a couple of quick points. Definitely benefits to the users, because if Epic and other agencies had not been creating such a stink about mandatory percentages and only one transactioners, all these independent developers that are making not a whole lot of money Apple would not have simply said, you know what, we've just spontaneously decided that it's kind of crap that we're trying to stick you for 30% on this low selling app. We're gonna cut those fees dramatically. So there was definitely a benefit to the users who are developing apps and providing for the App Store. And secondly, is of course the big companies are doing things pursuing things to make things better for themselves, but so is Apple. I mean, this is another one of those instances in which you can't make the case that it's a better user experience for people buying Kindle books to have to leave the Kindle app. To buy comic books, you have to leave the Comixology app, and it's not because Amazon, as the owners of both of those entities, are being mean stinkers who are trying to make an end run against Apple's completely true, completely fair fee structure. It's that there is very, very little trending towards no rational explanation for why Apple thinks that they should have a cut off of book sales inside these in-app purchases, because they had really nothing to do with helping this person to buy to buy a Kindle book or buy a comic book.
Other than building the platform that makes it viable?
The platform that makes it viable is the Kindle app and the Kindle book reader. The iPhone is negligible, has a negligible influence on this. Any phone, any device can sell a Kindle app, can sell a Kindle app, can sell a book that way. But again, you've got a $50 Kindle Fire tablet. Yes, it's heavily subsidized. So let's call it a $100 color tablet, and that can still read comic books very, very well. This was not Apple. This is the argument that I think is one of the weak parts of Apple's argument, to saying that, oh, well, we've created this infrastructure and this API and this blah blah blah. That's completely significant. As luck would have it, I'm wearing my vintage Code Warrior shirt. This is the
I remember Code Warrior.
Almost every
Think, right?
Yeah.
Was it
no,
Think?
Think was Think Pascal, Think C. The children, there used to be a lot of different development platforms for the Mac before Apple decided that now we're not going to own them like that. We're going to fix that. We can't force our developers to do exactly what we want them to do unless we also force them to use the same platform. But
MetroWorks, that's who it was. MetroWorks, yeah.
Yeah, but the basic point is that yes, that is true, and that would be true when you're talking about a sophisticated app like a really, really intense productivity app, a game, a to-do list, spreadsheets, things like that. When really you can create a Kindle app that is just take the website, put that in a wrapper, upload it, boom, you're done. That is not something that Apple's APIs helped to bring into creation. So this is why that argument just absolutely fails.
I'm going to truncate this conversation because we have it every freaking week. So
I'm just going to, all I want to say is, except that they built the market. Like, I don't want to buy a Kindle app. I want it to run on my phone.
Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on.
You got it.
There's going to be quite a big debate actually on Thursday, because this will go now before the Judiciary Committee. This is a bill introduced last year, the Open App Markets Act by Dick Blumenthal and Marsha Blackburn, which would establish basically competitive rules for app stores. And they've announced that that's going to go in front of the Judiciary Committee on Thursday. It does have bipartisan support, but, I don't know how.
I hope it passes.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. The Blumenthal says the bill aims to stop Apple and Google from crushing competitors and undercutting consumers. Breaking the ironclad grip of these two behemoths on the multi-billion-dollar app market is long overdue. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Does that mean I'll get WebOS back?
Yeah, that would be nice.
I'll get WebOS back.
Speaking of WebOS, MetroWorks came out of Hudson, Quebec. Did you know that, Renee? Wow. Greg Galanos.
No, I just assumed that we had no more companies left.
In 1980, well, you don't, because in 1985 he created it. It was I used MetroWorks. It was an incredible Code Warriors was an incredible developer tool. Yeah. Came out in May '94 at WWDC. MetroWorks received credit for helping Apple succeed in its risky transition to a new processor. Let's see, which one was that? 94 must have been Intel, right? I can't remember. Yeah.
I think,
or was it PowerPC?
I think it was PowerPC.
PowerPC. Wow. From the Motorola 68000
Tiger
family. Yeah. It was a PowerPC compiler, targeted PowerPC. And but now here's a sad story, Renee. It was in 1999 acquired by Motorola. 2005 spun off as part of Freescale. Freescale Semiconductor absorbed into NXP. They currently
okay, I'm following.
They currently own Code Warrior, but Andy owns a T-shirt, and that's what really counts.
See,
a T-shirt like an NFT. Does that give Andy voting rights?
He has rights.
No, see, I will give you, like, kids another history lesson. There was a time when you got a T-shirt from, like, whether it's a comic book or a creator that you liked or a web comic or a development platform, it was high quality stuff that you could wash and wear for like a decade or more. It wasn't the sort of thing where you open it up, you feel the material of this thing you paid $30 for and think, okay, I'm gonna have to plot out the 2 times I'm gonna be able to wear this before it completely disintegrates.
From Wikipedia, here is the MetroWorks logo circa 2001.
Yeah.
On it, it's called. On it. You know what? I like that image. I'm using that somewhere. I don't know where.
Oh,
I
don't know who they had who was a graphic designer on staff. But
it's a woodcut.
I think that it kind of predates Google's recognizing the value of let's have graphic artists on staff whose only job is to draw things for us. If I can find it during the next break, I will. I actually have a shirt, like not a T-shirt, but an actual button-up shirt that is all the different like woodcut like development drawings that they ever made, and it'd be people handling gears and like women like it was a trade dress that kind of made you happy every time you saw like a new ad or a new piece of literature.
Mr. Cook is going to Washington, but not to lobby against the Open Apps Act.
Not to run for president?
And, well, maybe later. He is going to go to the Judiciary Committee to lobby them because he wants to oppose the American Innovation and Choice Online Act, Amy Klobuchar and Chuck Grassley's kooky bill to prevent another business's product or service from interoperating with the dominant platform or another business, requiring a business to buy a dominant platform's goods or services for preferred placement on its platform. Oh, this must be banned. I'm sorry, this can't be. Yeah. Banned. Misusing a business's data to compete against it and biasing search results in favor of the dominant firm. Who would that be? Dominant firm. So, not DuckDuckGo. I don't think that's against DuckDuckGo. Could be, but I might be wrong.
They have a plan of attack for big tech. The plan is to attack.
Attack.
Threatening.
This was one of those 4 bills introduced last fall, and that are still alive. This
is Cook's job. Like his job is it's not good for his company, so his job is to go and try and get them to not do it.
Yeah, to provide that certain discriminatory conduct by covered platforms shall be unlawful, and for other purposes, the American Innovation and Choice Online Act.
Yeah. It's always very significant when a CEO decides to when a CEO gives politicians time out of his schedule without being forced to, because that time is super, super valuable.
Yes.
Not in the way that our time is valuable. I mean that you could actually meter how much money is being lost by virtue of the fact that someone was stuck in traffic without access to internet at that level.
Right.
But you can see why when you look at this bill that point after point after point, there's like 6 or 7 like major bullet points, and 2 or 3 of them are not vague. They are like you are not allowed to have an app store that sells content which demands that the store gets any discount that's offered anywhere to anybody else. Apple, you're not allowed to. And so it's weird. I keep coming back and forth on what I believe about this. Now the action this week means that it moved forward, so now they're going to discuss it. There's going to be markups, so that there could be a lot of changes to it. I don't know whether I feel like, wow, this could be so disruptive and not in a positive way, because a lot of the stuff that makes things work really well is because are also things that allows technical companies to like become a $3 trillion company. It's good for the users, good for the shareholders. That's fine. But also part of me really fundamentally, and I'm talking about fundamental beliefs, like the reason why these companies are worth $1, $2, $3 trillion is because they have been able to act largely unregulated. And is it time for countries across the world to say that, yes, I know that this law is absolutely going to suck for you, but oh well, you're going to have to deal with it because we decided that we decided that you have way too much power and not enough responsibilities. Rather than limiting your power per se, we want to increase your responsibilities. That's the sort of thing that I like. Increase their responsibilities, not necessarily limit their power.
Bloomberg got a copy of the letter sent to the senators, the Judiciary Committee by Tim Powderly, Apple's Senior Director of Government Affairs. He says, quote, after a tumultuous year that witnessed multiple controversies regarding social media, whistleblower allegations of long ignored risks to children, and ransomware attacks that hobbled critical infrastructure, it would be ironic if Congress responds by making it much harder to protect the privacy and security of Americans' personal devices. Unfortunately, that's what these bills would do.
Can Tim still filibuster? Is he allowed to filibuster under the current laws? I've lost track of American politics.
Smith goes to Washington. I guess the idea is, I'm not sure why it would threaten security. Google, by the way, says it would do the same thing.
Apple believes control equals security. So any loss of control means that they can't regulate and otherwise protect us from the vicious internet out there.
Maybe that's
and the bill and the bill also calls out you can't be the exclusive app store. You have to allow side loading, and that is going to be a problem.
Right. Apple said the bills erect very steep obstacles for the company to instate new privacy controls. The company also said the legislation would put the app tracking transparency feature in jeopardy. Meta doesn't like it, obviously. So they're gonna, it's in committee. I don't have to remember my Schoolhouse Rock, but I think that's
still a long way.
Still a long
way.
Yeah, it's still a long way.
Come along.
And
it's still just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Some of these bills also will run up against one of the things they're trying to do is sidestep the judiciary. So they have different ways that you can't take it to court, and that's unconstitutional. So they're going to have a problem with the fact that that may be just an unforced error, like the rest of it would go through, but saying you can't use the courts to manage that is actually usurping the judiciaries, and the judiciary has the choice to say you can't take our power away. Right. So what you're that part of it is very problematic, and the reason that they're doing that is because they can't win in a court of law. So that they're going to make this, and it's going to get it's not going to turn over without them taking the judiciary out of it, because it's unconstitutional. Yeah. They're not, you're taking, and so the thing is you can't take the judiciary out of the system and not expect to be taken straight to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court at this point is probably not going to take that well. So it's going to be one of those things that they don't. So the thing is that they're going to have a hard time cutting the judiciary. The legislative branch cannot cut the judicial branch out of the system very often, and so that's going to be very, very problematic for them. If we just saw what just happened last week, the judiciary is clipping the wings of the legislative branch.
Also, problems on the Eastern Front for Apple. Some European carriers are blocking Apple's private relay feature on the iPhone. Of course, they don't like that.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah.
Oh, did we? All right. Oh, yeah, that was the T-Mobile thing. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. I'm sorry. We did it.
But some of those states also want to rootkit, their entire country on their dime. Yeah, so it's conflicting interests, Leo.
All right, let's take a little break. I have to say, I am so impressed. I've been watching a little bit of football over the last couple of days.
Can you clarify, please? American
it's a game
gridiron?
we play in America. It has an egg-shaped ball.
Okay, no, gridiron. I was just curious.
It involves giant players who are padded to look even more gigantic, beating each other up on what we call a gridiron.
Not Ted Lasso.
With lots of great replays. And graphics.
Lots of
and not
slow
like 3-down football like we play.
And Tony Romo. You got Tony Romo's game.
Oh, man, we enjoyed Tony Romo's game.
I know.
He did not, however. He wanted that game, but he did not. Yes, we will be watching. Now, the Steelers, I'm sorry I apologize for, I was rooting for Big Ben.
We were. The only thing I wanted was 10 more seconds so that he could get one last touch, like the last
I was watching
play, be a
Twit. I
touchdown.
missed all this.
It was the Steelers got, they were going to lose. I mean, and I just wish he had one more play is all he needed.
I
was
watched
to score
the game,
one
his last game at Three Rivers or whatever they call it these days.
That was good. Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was moving. And I've always liked Ben Roethlisberger. He's a quarterback. That's the guy who throws the egg-shaped ball at other players, hoping one of them will catch it. In any event, I saw quite a few Apple commercials during these games. These are expensive commercials.
Are you talking about the Apple Watch commercials?
Yeah, hold on. We're going to talk about it in a bit. The Apple Watch and the cinema mode, both of which I thought were brilliant. Apple's clearly got a great new agency.
Amazing as well.
Yeah, hold on. We'll talk about it in a second. And Apple, you might want to start saving the pennies because the Super Bowl commercials are going to be, I think, $6.5 million for 30 seconds.
No, according to Andy, they can just sponsor Mr. Beast and look at the same viewership.
Yeah, maybe more. If you just put an ad on Baby Shark, you would have had 10 billion views.
Do you know how mad Baby Beluga must be, Leo? Like how salty that they lost. Totally taken out by Shark.
Yeah.
Baby Beluga, that was brave, but going to how salty they were, that was heroically brave. I like people who just, I've got this idea for a joke, and damn it, I'm just going to run with it.
Go with it, man. Dig a deep, deep hole. I'm sorry, it's Heinz Field now.
Baby
Heinz
Beluga
Field,
in the deep blue sea.
named after the
it was
57
I still think of Heinz Field as the new field,
stadium.
but it's been there for like I think 30 years now.
Did the Steelers play in Three Rivers or just the Pirates? I think maybe it was just
they both played.
They both played.
So it was so they both played there until I don't know somewhere in the 90s. They built up Heinz Field and then PNC Park, both of which PNC Park is the best baseball field in the country. Yeah. But it was the same architect that did a bunch of them. They just got better.
Heinz Field's kind of cool. Lisa and I and Michael were seriously after the game considering buying tickets to Green Bay for Saturday night's game.
It's Tampa Bay, right?
Wow. No, it's us. 49ers, Green Bay Packers.
Oh, you got to go to Green Bay.
I
got to tell you, I worked on a Green Bay game, and I can tell you,
Green
really
Bay,
cold. Like it's really cold.
11 p.m. on a January night is gotta be. Snow is in the forecast.
Your head might freeze. Like you're literally
I've sat through a whole game. I've sat through a whole game in the window was open where we were working.
They have inside booths, but
we had to have it open.
I wanted
NFL films.
I told Michael because he roots for Green Bay. So if you're going to root for Green Bay, you got to paint yourself green and gold and sit there shirtless for at least half an hour.
Cold.
But he would die, Leo. You're like literally
would kill him.
to death.
I know. It wouldn't be good.
It's so cold. I even grew up in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm used to cold, but Green Bay is a different kind of cold. It's a cold that hurts. That's all I'm saying.
We decided, okay, we'll stay home and watch it. Comfy confines.
Like
I've always
50.
I wanted to go to Lambeau Field, and for Christmas you can buy. I didn't know this, but you can buy into the Green Bay Packers. They're owned by the community, as is Lambeau Field. I bought Michael a share, and he's got a stock
you get to
share.
Vote.
Yeah, he's got a vote and share of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a fan,
how much does that cost? How much does it cost to have a share of the Green Bay Packers? Oh wow, okay, there you go.
And you get a nice certificate.
Is it a DOA? DAO, sorry?
No, it's an NFT. No, it's neither. It's something in the old days, we used to call them stock certificates.
You also get the tallest and grandest cheesehead in all the land.
Oh, he already has that, man. I don't know how. He's a child. Lisa is like a season ticket holder of the 49ers. I don't know how this happened, except that I think kids
Green Bay is basically Canada, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like you're in it's like the backyard.
It's north of Montreal, I think. I mean, it's really, Anyway, on we go with the show. Let me take a break, and then we'll talk about ads. But I want to talk about ZocDoc right now. ZocDoc, Z or Z for you, Renee, OCDOC. I love this idea. There are some amazing doctors out there, but really the only ones that matter are the ones that take your insurance, obviously, right? You want to pay out of pocket for this. With ZocDoc, you can focus on doctors who are in-network, putting you on the path to see doctors who are right for you. No more time wasted hunting down Aunt Shirley's cash-only chiropractor or the dentist your coworker recommended only to find out he's out of network. That'll be $3,000, please. No one knows what you're looking for in a doctor better than you, right? And no one's given you better tools to find the perfect doctor than ZocDoc. The people who created ZocDoc were, and this is what I love about Silicon Valley. They were really looking at the pain points, the biggest pain points in healthcare, all the things that weren't working. And they said, hey, enough. We can do a better job. So they've made booking a great doctor surprisingly pain-free. Primary care, dentist, OBGYN, dermatologists, psychiatrists, eye doctors, chiropractors. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. You can read up on local doctors. There's actually verified patient reviews right there. I think that's super important. I wish people were, talking about these kinds of things. Like, you shouldn't go to this one. You should go to this one. See what I can go on and on about trials and tribulations we've had. But now you can see what other humans have to say about their visits. So when you walk into that doctor's office, you're set up to see someone in your network who gets you. ZocDoc.com. Choose a time slot. Whether you want to see the doctor in person or do a video visit, yes, you have a choice. And just like that, you're booked. Find the doctor that's right for you. Book an appointment that works for your schedule. Millions of people use ZocDoc every month. It's got a very broad network, very broad reach. It can be your go-to whenever you need to find someone and book a doctor. And nowadays, when you need a doctor, you kind of need a doctor fast, don't you? In the chaotic world of healthcare, let ZocDoc be your trusted guide to find a quality doctor in a way that's surprisingly pain-free, because that's how it ought to be. ZocDoc, you get your docs in a row. Go to ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. Get your docs in a row. Download the ZocDoc app for free, then search for your top-rated doctor today. Many are available right away within 24 hours. ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. ZocDoc.com/MacBreak. I like that. Get your docs in a row. Thank you, ZocDoc, for supporting MacBreak Weekly. All right. We just did an ad, but I want to see Apple's ads. So I've been watching on the football games the Apple Watch ads. I'll tell you how effective they were. We were sitting there. Lisa's ex, who's also a Niners fan, comes over to watch the games. And he's watching the ad, the one where the guy fell down a cliff or something. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can find these. Because if you haven't seen them, they're really effective.
YouTube.com/Apple. There's a bunch of them there.
Yeah. Here you go. Right. This is, and listen to the audio. I'm going to have to turn it up because that's really what works.
911, what's your emergency?
Hi, I've been in a car accident. My car slipped. There's water getting in the car and I can't get out.
911, what is your emergency?
I came out paddleboarding and a hard wind is pushing me out to sea.
Okay, do not hang up.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm here at the farm. I broke my leg straight down 21 feet. I sure need help quick.
Are you by yourself?
Yes.
Have you tried to get out? Have you tried to bust the window or something?
I'm pretty far out in the ocean.
I can't get to my cell phone. I'm talking on my Apple Watch.
Try to keep talking to me.
Okay.
I can't fight the wind anymore.
It's getting deeper. It's getting to my neck.
Please hurry. I'm hurting real bad.
You're going to seek help, okay?
I see them.
They're opening the door.
Hold on. Are you in an air pocket?
I'm just at the driver's seat.
Okay, so your head is above water?
Yes, sir.
All three of those, these are real 911 calls. All three of them were saved thanks to their Apple Watch. Mike bought a watch within 60 seconds of seeing that ad, and I have to think he's not alone. I get teary just watching that. Have you seen that before, Renee? Is that new to you? I don't know if they're showing it in Canada.
Yeah, no, I saw it. And there was like a bunch of outrage on the internet too, because people couldn't decide if it was good to promote that Apple saves lives or if Apple was trying to frighten people into buying Apple Watches.
No, that is, I think, the closest thing to a perfect ad I've ever seen. Yeah, it's terrifying. And I know, somebody in the chat room said I get it's very stressful to hear that. But boy, they all are okay. They all got hope, and they all, yeah. She says, or he says, I'm on my Apple Watch. I can't reach my phone. It makes you want an Apple Watch.
You're out in the middle of the ocean. And you're like, I'm going. Like, what else would you do?
Did you see the other one where I think it was a
bicyclist
biker?
Yeah,
exactly. Who's basically
the watch called for him. I guess I should play this too. Yeah,
yes.
Because
that was even more impressive.
Yeah, the watch called for him because he was knocked unconscious
It sensed a crash, and then it tried to, as the UI is supposed to do, it said, "Hey, if you're okay, tap this button to let me know you're okay." And then when it didn't, it automatically dialed 911, and a voice basically walked.
Yeah, let me play the audio. I don't know why I can't find that one.
I'll say in advance, I'm surprised that the voice was that bad. It was okay.
It's coming from a freaking watch.
Yeah, no, I know, but
okay. Let me see. Apple Watch ad 911 cyclist. Maybe that search will do it. It's not on their YouTube page for some reason. Oh yeah, here it is. It's called 911 Bob. Here you go.
The owner of this Apple Watch has taken a hard fall and is not responding to their watch. The emergency location is latitude 47.7, longitude -117.5 with an estimated search radius of 41 meters. This message will repeat in 5 seconds.
Bob fell off his bicycle. He was knocked unconscious. Yeah. His watch automatically called 911 and he was rescued, I presume, although Apple doesn't say that on this one. So, I hope it ended well for Bob.
Hope they found Bob.
It does. You know what? If you're going to knock it, the music is very like, oh my God, music. I think these days, though, to break above, especially with when you're watching NFL football where all the ads are very expensive, to break above the crowd, you've got to do something. And boy, those ads really work.
And the other bonus is that we assume that everybody who owns a device knows about all the features on that device, and I can imagine that there's not a few Apple Watch owners who don't understand that it will call emergency services for you, and there's ways you can have it. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't pay the extra for the GSM connection if they hadn't. If they
do you have to have LTE for all of that stuff that we just saw to work? I guess you do.
Have to have the watch with LTE.
I think so, yeah.
So you don't have to have a plan. Like as long as you have the watch that has that capabilities, anywhere in the world, it'll do emergency calling for you, even if you don't have a plan.
Oh, that's good to know.
Emergency alert.
Because actually, Mike said, "Should I get the LTE?" And I said, "No," because I figure he's always going to have his phone with him. But maybe yes, if you didn't have to spend the $10 a month extra to this.
If you plan on going out without your watch, without your phone,
right?
Like if your phone is damaged, like it's like an insurance policy. If you always have your phone with you, maybe it's fine. But if your phone is damaged, or like people who go paddleboarding and don't have their phone with them, then the LTE is really handy.
Or maybe you're not going to be able to, when the car is turned over 3 times, maybe you're not going to be able to find the phone in the car, but your wrist is hopefully still accessible.
Right. Then
it is great. I think it's reasonable to ask how scary is this for reasonable people. But the thing is, it is talking about scary situations, and what sells fire extinguishers isn't, hey, now we've got them in rainbow colors. It's that, hey, here's a person. I'm dead honest truth. There's a famous like viral video of a Japanese man who's streaming and he's showing off his new lighter. And it's almost, if not for the fact that it turned into a whole disaster that tore down the entire building, his attempts to put out the fire, he did everything wrong. And and part of it was because he did not have a fire extinguisher handy.
Right.
Like he kept trying to do all these different weird things to try to put out the flames, and just made it higher and higher. And that was one of the things that made me, at the time, I didn't have a current fire extinguisher. And that's when I just went out to Amazon, clicked on a new window and ordered 3 right there. And make sure that there's always a fire. So yeah, it's not the happy Teletubbies message that gets people to buy the emergency equipment that they need to have on hand before the emergency happens.
You're spot on also that and I'm sure this is Apple's intent. These ads not only sell the product, but they teach people who have the product about capabilities. This is cinematic mode. And Alex, I think you probably, have you seen this one? The detectives?
I don't. Oh yeah, it's really good.
This is really good. Two detectives. Looks like, a traditional gritty cop show. They're sitting in a beat up Ford Taurus in a beat up location.
Can I ask you a question? Am I out of focus?
That's fine. That's the cop in the background.
Yeah, but I mean, look at me. I'm all blurry.
Well, you're supporting cast.
What?
The camera focuses on the most important character, which is me.
Well, what if my character had a big reveal?
Like what?
like maybe I'm the killer.
Are you?
And now he's in focus. All of a sudden, racked focus. Back to the background. A couple of things I note on this ad. First of all, the lead cop, greatest actor ever. Very good, subtle like gestures, and I mean just beautifully act. Both of them actually did a great job. But also just a really perfect example of cinema mode, you know, cinematic mode of racked focus. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the phone has come along. I mean, I'm not saying you shoot a feature film with it. I mean, I know that's the sell,
and in fact,
right?
I think a lot of people will never use cinematic mode, but it's just cool.
But if you want to do, you know, if you want to, there's a lot of places you could use that, and especially fun places to use it that I think are great. And the fact that you can just do it with your phone. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Has that feature really been working out? The one thing that I was curious about, I still don't have the new iPhone, still don't have it, but the one thing that I was curious about seeing the demos and seeing the release was that how if you've got 3 kids who are all acting like a bunch of you know squirrels jumping in and out, how is it possible to make sure that like it doesn't just keep like switching focus and giving you a headache trying to watch the thing? Is it capable?
You can control it like. Yeah. It'll go to the first person and it'll lock on their eye line. And then if that eye line moves, it'll go to the next closest person. You can manually override it. I think the issues a lot of people had, though, is that Apple deliberately chose to put it on all iPhones. So they didn't include any of the LiDAR in it. And that would have improved low light performance, but they wanted to make it ubiquitous for everybody. So the first version doesn't include any LiDAR. So if you go to low light, you have the same problem that you had with the traditional portrait mode. And that is there's just not enough for it to actually understand the scene. So it works really well right now in daylight, and it's going to get better every year, obviously. But that is the limitation. And the cool thing is that it goes beyond the main sensor. Like it uses the ultra wide angle to sort of preload what gazes are coming into the frame, so that if it sees someone else coming in closer, it's already on them by the time they enter into the frame. And that makes it very, very smooth.
And if you look at like what DJI is doing with some of their new cameras, that's probably a preview of where Apple could go, which is the idea that using the LiDAR, the way DJI is using it, they're using LiDAR to literally show you as a focus puller. You can be looking on an iPad or on the touch screen there, and making, controlling it, but you see the outline of the person inside of the focus of what you're doing. And I think that Filmic Pro, once they get, they could probably build that into it to make sure that the remote control actually had a lot of control over what it's doing. And I think that that's probably not too far away. I'm guessing, within the next year, we'll start seeing it. And that starts to be where, you could get an expensive camera, but if you're not going to get an expensive camera, you could do an enormous amount of damage.
Yeah. That's always one of my hottest buttons on technology is when I find myself like something screwing up and I find myself saying, wow, this would be a great piece of software or a great feature or a great piece of hardware if it didn't keep trying to work better on its own regard without asking me, hey, do you want the background to be completely washed out? Because I could do that. And I imagine the cinematic mode saying you are never I know that there's a dude walking behind like my friend who's singing this song, but the fact that he looked into the camera and her eyes were closed doesn't mean please change the focus to the dude walking behind her in the camera.
I just want it to work better than
which is my favorite thing.
Right.
Like that's going to be truly revolutionary, is that you can just go in afterwards, not only change the focal point, but also change the amount of depth effect. You can change it from like f2 point something to f4.5 something.
And Focus was doing that. Yeah, Focus was doing that with with the photos for a long time. And I just want it to work. Whatever it does automatically, I just need to do better than my AirPod Pro. Deciding which Apple device it would like to attach to. That's the low bar that we'd like to avoid.
God. That's been coming up in my life too. Now that I'm doing a little bit more things in public, I don't have AirPods, but it's like I was last time I was on Amtrak, I was like, I really wish that my iPad wouldn't keep informing me that somebody on this train has just opened up an iPod, a pair of AirPods, because that's not relevant to me. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Speaking of rumors, were we? I don't think we are, but I will now say, let's speak of rumors. Analyst Ross Young on Twitter and others now are saying that the next iPhone 14 will have a hole plus pill punch out.
An exclamation mark.
Hole and pill. The smaller hole will not be visible. Will not be invisible. The two-hole concept will be unique to Apple, like the notch, not similar to all the pill models from Huawei. Is Ross reliable?
Yes, he's very reliable because he just sits there and looks at the supply chain.
And it really looks like, honestly, it looks like, it's got a little stamp on it, little Chinese on the stamp. It definitely looks like something might have leaked out of
and that's backwards,
Shenzhen.
so you flip that around, and that's what it's going to look like on the phone.
Ah, okay.
I'm just glad that Apple's finally addressing this because, as we all know, there were so many people. I think it's actually double-digit percentage of iPhone users that, just as they said on social media when the first renders of the eyebrow the notch first appeared, they can't look at it without vomiting. So every time they're using their phone, they're just vomiting right onto the screen. And now I can't imagine what after 2 or 3 years that's done to the upper GI system. So this is a very, very humanist sort of approach from Apple.
Actually, I thought I would really hate the notch on the MacBook. And I've gotten used to that even. Although it does occasionally, I think Fantastical, because I have so much stuff in my menu, I think Fantastical is actually, I can't see it. I think it must be under the notch. So I'm sure FlexiBits will figure that out and move it. But other than that...
There's a lot of stuff like that where it's not that you ever think it's a good idea. It's not that you necessarily don't wish that you could have the old way back. But okay, you'll get over it. It won't ruin the experience. You really have to break it hard, compound fracture, in order to say, okay, guess what? I'm going to look at Windows or Linux right now because I just can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah. No,
my eyes are bleeding. It's
really the other direction. That's what Microsoft has pretty much done with Windows, and everybody's flowing in the opposite direction. Actually, PC sales were up big time last year, and Apple the biggest growth. They're still only 8.5% of overall PC sales, according to analysts. But they've been
firing on all cylinders over the last 2 years.
A lot of people buying those Macs. Yeah,
so good. Yeah,
and I have to say, we are starting to hear rumors about. Well, one rumor I just read, and I think it's kind of what you've already said, Renee, not so much as a rumor, is just, likely, is that the Mac Pro will actually be just a beefed up M1, and that there'll be M2s coming out this year probably for MacBooks and Air.
Well, that'll be the low end one. Like Apple previously had that. This is the MacBook Pro for people who like the MacBook Air but want the Pro brand, and that was the one that didn't have the Touch Bar at first. And now, ironically, it's the only one with a Touch Bar, and that's going to be replaced by an M2 version. So you'll have the M2 MacBook Air and then the M2 MacBook Pro. The difference being the Air is going to have no fan. So it's going to have like a limit of 15, 20 minutes of like full out heavy workload. And then if you do want to sustain longer than that, you can get the MacBook Pro M2, and that'll just have what Apple calls an active cooling system, but it's a fan in it. So you can do harder workloads.
It's silly to ask. But
buy it.
Well, no, I was thinking, should I get a beefed up Mac Mini, which I could likely get in the next 6 months, or wait till the fall for a little mini Mac Pro, which sounds so cute on my desk?
You're probably waiting till the fall anyway.
You'll use them all. I mean, the great thing about the Mac Minis is
I have
there's so many places to use them.
Alex is sitting on 4 of them right now.
I have a 55-inch OLED gaming monitor from Alienware. Right now, it's running Linux, in Valheim, but I would really like to attach a Mac to it. I don't know if a 55-inch Mac experience would be very good or not, but I'd like to try. And so the Mini would be fine for that, right? Yeah,
I have 3 Mac Minis in my space right now. Like literally in my system is 3. And the thing is at that price point, you don't feel bad about putting it and using something else, and it's so powerful. The M1 is.
I think it's perfect.
It's the coolest. The M1 Mini, Mac Mini, is the coolest Mac I bought.
I'm super happy with the M1 Pro laptop.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. I'm running a process. I'm running a very, very, very slow brute force search on mine right now, And it's using 11 cores, 97% of 11 cores, and it has the fan's not on. It's not hot. It's 100% basically.
The CPUs cannot saturate that machine. If you're just running CPUs, you will never saturate. You will never declock. Nothing like that will ever happen.
Wow.
Yeah, the envelope is big enough. You have to hit the GPUs if you want to start hurting that machine.
Yeah, and this is all CPU. Wow, that's really interesting. Because remember those i7 machines, even the i9 MacBook Pro, you had to put in the freezer. It would throttle. It got to 100 degrees Celsius, and it would throttle, and it would do that in seconds.
Intel changed the definition of turbo to accommodate because they could no longer keep a heat envelope. So they would say that it was opportunistic, and it would just go like this every millisecond, trying to get like as much frequency as it could before it had to downclock again.
Crazy, and the fans are going, and the whole thing. This thing's just, it
doesn't keep me warm though, and like the Mac Mini doesn't keep my coffee hot anymore. That's like the biggest downgrade of these machines. I lose my free space heater.
The European, as we always, the European FCC database, what do they call it? It's the gift that keeps on giving. Consomac. The new iPhone model numbers. The Eurasian Economic Commission has been a good source in the past, and apparently has some new model numbers. Looks like iPhones and iPads, according to 9 to 5 Mac, likely representing the upcoming iPhone SE Plus and the iPad Air. The new iPhone models A2595, 2783, 2784. Quite a few on the iPad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 iPad models. Do they give a different model number for a different color?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of SKUs. That's 11 new SKUs.
It could just be also radios, but their radios are so simple these days.
Now I don't know what the timelines are, but it I think that bodes well for a spring release. Yes,
it does and it doesn't, because like this is the iPhone SE, which is basically the old iPhone SE with a 5G radio and a faster processor, which is fine. And also the iPad Air is basically the same iPad Air, but with a 5G radio, and a faster processor in it. So it's a very SE upgrade, but I think people who had their hopes set on M2 Max are going to be sad.
Yeah. Well, there will be other things, but you think the M2 Max will be June WWDC?
I hope, and for sure. Like I think the unveiling, like they often show the MacBook Pro, Mac Pro, in June, and then ship it December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
Well, June is coming quicker than we think. I hope.
Yeah.
Is it?
You think 2022 is going to be fast like 2021 or slow like 2020? I'm not sure yet. Feels like.
I can't tell. 2021 hardly happened.
It feels like it's been 2022 for a year already.
Yeah. So maybe iPad Air 5 also rumored.
Yeah. With
5G center stage camera, also spring, according to 9 to 5 Mac, and Mako Takara. That's citing reliable sources in China. Does that seem credible? iPad Air 5?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be like the 2016 event where we got the iPhone SE and the small iPad Pro. Like that's basically what the iPad Air has become.
And this would be the debut. No, not the. Yeah, I guess the debut of the A15 on the iPad, right? I don't think they put that on the iPad.
The Mini has A15.
The Mini
the
does.
5-core version.
I love my Mini. Man, do I love that Mini.
Yeah, it's so fast.
It's so great. Okay. And then the SE Plus this year will be replaced next year, according to some rumors, by a bigger SE.
Next year or the year after with an iPhone 10R or iPhone 11 chassis. So it'll go to the modern. People who have been people who just want their home button will be really sad at that point.
Oh, that's
a lot of people wanted a modern.
They still have
iPhone
a home button. That's right. I forgot about that. When are we going to see Type-C on an iPhone?
Does it have to be USB-C?
I think it has to come. I think it has to be sometime soon. I mean, I don't know about Type-C, but I think Thunderbolt. I mean, we need faster. I mean, now that you're doing ProRes, You really need a faster connector.
So maybe
I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to look at it and say that's 6-year-old technology, and we're going to be Apple, and we're going to make, like I was joking in my video today. I did a 20-minute video today on what Apple could do post Lightning, and you could see like a Lightning Type-C, which just happened because Type-C is just a plug. You use Type-C for a lot of things. There's a whole bunch of different protocols behind Type-C, or they could just go MagSafe, and then you slap MagSafe on the back, and it charges and does data exchange.
Yeah,
that seems like more viable than a 6-year-old plug.
I agree with you. I think I think having USB 3 or 4 over Type-C is very, very viable. I think it's maybe the most convenient solution for people who are using humans who are using phones. But I think that if Apple's going to make that kind of a big change where they're going to suddenly get rid of Lightning on the most popular platform, I do think that the Apple that I know and love is going to say, why don't we just have no ports whatsoever? And that's whereas that might have been said in jest a couple of years ago. Now it's like, yeah, you know what? They've got MagSafe. They could even put a Pogo plug on the surface of it to do stuff that they couldn't do wirelessly. Let me be really clear. That wouldn't be my favorite way to access data on a phone, because like Alex said, sometimes I just can't use iCloud as a way of moving data from one place to another. Sometimes AirDrop is not going to work for this huge file. But that feels like the sort of thing that Apple would do rather than simply use the standard that they're going to probably want to get rid of in 3 years anyway.
Yeah, I saw this great conversation between John Gruber and Steve Aquino, who does all the great accessibility stuff. And they were just talking about how they can barely see the Lightning port now. Like for them, it's not an advantage. Like they can barely get it in, and it's really tough, and you got to fiddle with it a lot. And if they just had something like MagSafe, and MagSafe could be like it is on the Mac. It could just be, and I just want to point out the irony that I saw where everybody who's been lobbying for USB-C on the iPhone to get rid of Lightning, go standardized USB-C, a lot of them were also lobbying to get rid of USB-C on the MacBook and go to MagSafe because it's just so convenient. And it turns out that like convenience versus compatibility is like a big internal battle inside nerd hearts. But to have something that would be like as easy and accessible, like just a magnetic version of USB-C, you bring it close enough, it goes thwack and you're connected. That's a huge win for anybody in the accessibility community.
I think you could build a MagSafe that had a USB-C in the center of it, so that like if you're in Europe, you can just push the little USB-C in. The MagSafe is the cool one, whatever one we use. But yeah, we got the other one just in case you want to use it.
The European Union doesn't care about, like, they only care about the plug. So if they can show it's MagSafe, then they're exempt from all that regulation. Yeah, which is also interesting.
Well, the other solution is to support right to repair and user upgradability 100%. I flagged a story that I came across a couple of days ago where someone, because the framework laptop, which is all modular, you can fix everything yourself, and also the ports are like modules, you can slide in and out. Not only that, but the schematics are open source, the CAD files are open source. So someone said, I want MagSafe on my framework laptop. So they made a MagSafe compatible or MagSafe like power connector for the framework, and now I'm like,
it's like Handspring.
It's like I don't want to switch to Windows, but I kind of really want that laptop now.
I'm going to give credit to Micah Sargent because I think he put this in the rundown. Of course, our producer and the host of iOS Today, and I just set this up, and it's the coolest thing ever. Comes from a guy who was a developer, a summer developer, former Apple Worldwide Developer Conference Student Scholarship winner, recent UC Santa Barbara grad named Matt Moss. And it was a side project which he built for his girlfriend. And it's now one of the hottest apps on the iPhone. I'm talking about Locket. Have you seen this? You can have up to 5 friends be your Locket contacts, and then it becomes a widget. It could be a pretty big widget too on your home screen, and they can automatically send photos to your home screen into the widget. So perfect for like the one person you care a lot about to have a Locket. I love the name. I've just asked Lisa to...
So those accidental photos come, Leo.
No, you don't send those. You send nice pictures.
Like the guys in the shower and just like a whole bunch of photos are just being jammed into your home screen. And you're like, please stop. Please stop. I dropped my phone.
I'm thinking more like you found out that your partner cheated on you, but you're playing dumb because you know that in 2 weeks' time they're going to be giving like a keynote in front of 500 people, and they're doing it from their iPad. And well,
yeah, I'll just
hey, honey, I just found this really great. I just want to, yeah, exactly.
But back in the iMore days, we actually got a really angry letter about when Apple started doing the photo stream, because someone sent her husband a bunch of photos while she was away traveling, and they had just set up to show their parents how the Apple TV worked, and they had photo stream as a screensaver. So the in-laws are just like Apple needs to stop this technology immediately.
Of course, the in-laws did buy 3, to be fair.
I was excited about it, except for that I really have gotten against this whole, like, give me your contacts. I know it says it doesn't save them, but it was like, it said, okay, now I want, please give me access. I won't work with an app now that asks for my contact list. Like, it's just like, it's like, whoop, I'm not going to do that.
It's one that does, but you cannot.
You can't do it. You can't use it. You can't
use it without. It says it stays on your phone. It says they're not sending it to themselves.
I know it does. I just don't want. I don't have any reason for that. I want to be able to invite people. I just want to be able to invite people to do it and connect through them, and not. I get the stickiness of doing that. That's why I don't appreciate that. And so.
Well, how
I
else
was
would
super excited about it?
How else?
You could invite someone.
You could just
invite someone and create a connection. Yeah.
Oh, but it makes you. You have to get.
You can't use it without it,
Matthew. Knock it off.
And it's a great idea. And I have to admit, I've started to take kind of a, I think
you're right.
Clubhouse got me super sensitive to it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was gooey. And so it's been something I've been kind of pushing back on.
I am with you. In fact, I've been starting to say this. It's doxing your friends, because you're sending everything you know about your entire contact list to a third party. That is, I mean, one thing to send your information to a third party, you're sending all your friends' information to the third party. That's wrong. I agree with you, and it's too bad that they require that.
But it's an incredible idea. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I got to download it. I'll put my family on it. We'll have fun with it.
I know.
I could see how it'd be tons of fun.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and if all I had to do was invite their even if it was just their .Mac, and I invite each one of them, and they have to accept it, and then because I don't want the app to touch my contacts unless the contact on the other end has said it was okay.
100%.
But like 100%. I have a lot of contacts, and I'm not, and a lot of them would not appreciate being connected to an app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Matthew, just take a little word of advice.
Sorry for pouring all the cold water on your
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm glad I didn't make this my pick of the week or anything. I'm just reporting a story. It's Micah Sargent's fault.
He's so cute. We'll forgive him for anything.
No, I think this is something people don't even think about, and they're doing it all the time, and it really is problematic. It really is problematic. Apple has updated the firmware for AirPods 3. 4C170 came out today. That is all.
Brand name.
that is all. Don't know. There's no easy way to do this, by the way. You connect your AirPods Pro to the iOS device. You open the Settings app. You type the General tab. Type the About tab. Type AirPods. Look at the number next to the firmware version. And then what? I don't know.
You wait until they're charging and they update. And then half the people will say they sound better. Half the people will sound worse. And I'll want to hide for a week. That's
I will say that the one thing that did get Apple fixed sometime recently, I didn't know exactly when, but someone suggested it, is that there was a problem with iCal and Exchange that would mean that every time you went to a new page in iCal, it would take like 20 seconds. And it would sit there, and Apple fixed it in the last Mac update. So now it's all, it was kind of like having me go, I need to go back to something else. I mean, it was like really a problem.
Exchange, you mean? Get rid of Exchange. Good.
I can't. It's not my company.
Oh,
it's not something I picked on.
Here's the good news for anybody who uses Microsoft products. Excel is now fully M1 native. Microsoft has released Office for Mac update. Just Excel. Although Excel's the one that does all the calculations, so I guess it's probably
the one Tim Cook does pivot tables in. So
that's right.
Got the most pressure for.
If you previously used a Rosetta emulator to run Excel, you may disable it and run Excel natively on your device. I don't know if you need to disable it. I think it would automatically work, but users can get the new version using the auto updater that comes with Office, another incredibly annoying background task that's running on people's Macs.
If you, all I can say is, if you have a Mac and you're not doing heavy calculations like real spreadsheets. If you're using the spreadsheet to organize things, numbers is 100 times better, like 100 times better. And it looks so nice. You can take a numbers file and I submit those as bids and they're pretty and I've got pictures in them and I've got all this other stuff. And I open up Excel and I'm like, oh, this would be horrible. And if you're doing one page, like simple, like bids and everything else, there's another life out there. I'm just letting you know. Like definitely numbers slows down when you start doing heavy tables. Like I've done heavy tables and it takes a long time to, and I would use Excel for that. But that's only like 1% of the users of Excel are doing that. Everyone else is organizing.
I actually don't think that's the case because a lot of people use it in finance. Lisa's got massive
a lot of people that have Excel but there's a lot of people that have Excel. There's true. Definitely a lot of people in finance, but there's a lot of I get these Excel files from clients all the time that are just like a list of the things. It's just columns and rows.
List.
I still think that's the vast majority. I mean, there's definitely lots of finance people that are doing it, but of all the people that have 365 that open up an Excel doc, not very many of them are doing things that wouldn't be better in numbers.
People who care about that will be very happy. Lisa will be very happy to learn this. She bought a 49-inch monitor because she runs so many spreadsheets and she wants to be able to see them. I mean, talk about big tables. She wants to be able to see them spread out. She lives in Excel, so she'll be glad to hear. Actually, I think we use Google Sheets a lot, but we use it just as you said, Alex, as kind of a list. Like,
and if you need to interact with other people, Google Sheets is the way to do it.
For sharing.
That's what I do is actually build them in numbers because it's so much faster. Then I save it out as an Excel file. Then I open it in numbers. I'm sorry, open it in Google Sheets, and then I share it with everybody because the sharing in numbers is horrible.
One of the reasons that I traded in my Tesla for a Mustang Mach-E is that Tesla uses its own multimedia software, and I wanted CarPlay, damn it. In fact, I was very happy. The Mach-E just got an update that lets CarPlay use almost the entire screen. That's nice. That's a big-ass CarPlay. Yeah. I love it. Is that a new feature of CarPlay, or did Ford just enable it?
I don't think CarPlay it's always been up to the manufacturer to enable the screen size
how they display it.
Or the controls, yeah,
because suddenly the sidebars move to the bottom, which is of course a good place for it because it's got a lot of real estate top to bottom. The icons are big, but I see more of them. The maps are great. I mean, it's really nice. Unfortunately, Tesla refuses to adopt CarPlay or Android Auto.
Yes,
but there is a workaround. That is a strange thing to see in a Model 3. Apparently, a Polish developer, Michał Gapinski, has figured out how to do it. Tesla doesn't even support Apple Music. I didn't realize that. That's ridiculous. You play everything through TuneIn. Give me a break. The video shows him running CarPlay on his Model 3 screen. He says the steering wheel scroll button is working, which is good. But here's the downside. You have to run a separate Raspberry Pi with a custom build of Android. And then basically it's a server which you load into the Tesla in-car browser. And the mouse has to be connected to your Raspberry Pi to navigate CarPlay. Okay, so
it's a lot of work. That's all I'm saying.
It's not, yeah.
It's a bar. You win the bar bet. You win the $20, but then you probably won't. You won't do it again.
Probably easier to get Doom running on it than it is to get CarPlay.
Sure, it's an in-car in-app purchase.
Yeah. I have to say,
car has to be going less than 30 miles an hour before they'll let the driver play.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of the problems with Tesla. You could play video games at any speed. They're getting a little heat for that, by the way. I do have to admit, I love CarPlay. I'm very happy with it. I've got wireless CarPlay in my car. It works very well. Yeah. Nice. They did a good job on that. Do you use the aerial screensaver in your Apple TV? I love it. In fact, Lisa and I will have a game to identify what it is we're seeing, what city or whatever. There is an app for Mac, which I've used for a long time. It is now updated with the latest tvOS 15 screensavers. So if you've been using, and
they're 95% Dubai now. Anyway,
there's a lot of Dubai. There's a lot of Dubai.
It's pretty from the air.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's very pretty. We do have some more nature stuff in the new aerial screensavers. Yeah. There's I don't know, canyons and mountains and lakes and so forth. So That's Patagonia, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon. In the
early ones with helicopters and drones and stuff.
Yeah.
That's great.
I run the aerial screensaver. I love it. I just think it's beautiful everywhere I can. I just love it. That's super slow-mo. So this is, it's a free app. I think it's on GitHub, as I remember, by John Coates. I think it's Guillaume Luel who has updated it to version 2.0. He is a self-proclaimed sea whiz. That probably helps. Where can we? Here it is. Co-Fi is his website. Co-Fi.com. Arial 3.0. A couple of picks for you. I think this is also probably a Micah Sargent. Let us take a little teeny-weeny break, and then, if you will, gentlemen, prepare your picks of the week for me. Meanwhile, I'd like to talk about the place I go whenever I get a good idea to get that domain name. If you're a blogger, if you're an artist, if you're a photographer, if you're a business, if you don't have your own custom site, you got to get one. You know, having an email at AOL.com just doesn't reflect a professional demeanor. Wouldn't you like to have a custom domain to link to your LinkedIn resume or your GitHub page or your online store? I think Hover is the best way to do this. It's the best domain registrar I've ever used. Email at your domain name, man, that is absolutely a must. Customers trust it if your brand is in your email address. You have a very affordable, easy to set up choice with Hover. They have domain-based emails for all your needs, small or large. You could set it up when you register the domain name at hover.com. When your domain renews, your mailboxes renew. You can add as many mailboxes as you want. Very affordable price. You get webmail if you want it, but you can also use your Apple Mail or whatever client you want to download the email. Hover's not just a great place to do email. It's the best place to register and manage your domain. I like to do my own, DNS manipulations. Hover has pro-level tools, both for email and domain management, that are intuitive, easy to use, but give me all the capabilities I want. They also have a very simple way to connect your Hover domain, your new Hover domain, to a website, a blog called Hover Connect. Just look for those Hover Connect buttons. You pick the service you want to use. You press the button, your domain's connected. It's as easy as can be. And I think it's so important. Hover doesn't give you all of those pop-ups saying, sign up for this, sign up for that, sign up for this. When you get a Hover domain name, it's all kind of there. The WHOIS privacy protection is built in. It's part of the purchase. So your domain information, your registration information is private. Reduce spam, protect yourself. It's absolutely the way to do it. And they have, they have all the domains. .com, .net, .info, .co, even .pizza, .republican, .democrat. I have so many crazy domains at Hover. And I use them. Some of them. I use them. At Hover, you're a customer. You're not a source of data. Take back control of your data with reliable tracker-free email at a domain name that reflects your brand. Hover is trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers who use their domain names and email to turn their ideas into a reality. Developers, photographers, small businesses, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Where do you go? Hover, HOVER.com/twit. You'll get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. HOVER, hover.com/twit, 10% off of any domain extension for a whole year. We thank Hover so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. We thank you for supporting it. Take advantage of that 10% off your first purchase and let them know you saw it here by going to hover.com/twit. Okay? Twit. Let's get some picks of the week. I will start with Alex Lindsay.
So I'm coming back to something that we talked about earlier. We spent a Keynote, and I just want to show something in Keynote. We spent last Saturday talking about video in Keynote, and I kind of put together this little demo. And when you see it, you're just kind of like, oh, I think that I need that. So I just want to show this. This is Keynote. You can see that.
Look, he's got a little. He's a little embedded little circle.
I'm a little video,
and you're in Keynote.
I'm in Keynote. This is live. These are all
presenting live in Keynote.
See this? Live.
A live rock.
Live. Live. These are 4 live sources in Keynote. And if I go, but you still have all the things all you things you have in Keynote, which is, I'd like to transition. This is still in Keynote.
Oh, teachers should be using this. Professors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we did it in our education hour. So we had, so these are live views. Oh, I want this to pop out and pop up here. And then it can still interact with all the things that I have. So all the other things you have in Keynote, as far as a presentation goes, are all still there. And I just, I didn't think it was that big of a deal when we were, like, oh, it's a really cool feature. But as we started to play with it, it was like, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Like
that's kind of mind-boggling. Wow.
It is. And so far in our group, the highest number someone said that they've gotten is 8 cameras working inside of Keynote.
So you're going through an ATEM to get into it?
No. Those are here to cut back to this. This is so I'm going through the ATEM here in the bottom. Yeah. I'm actually splitting my video to the ATEM, and then the other 3 are web cameras. Those are 3 different web cameras just hooked up to my Mac Mini.
Hooked up to USB. Okay.
Yeah, wow. So they're 3 little. They're just on USB into the thing, and so there's nothing exciting about those, and I could be on a webcam as well. So you could have 3 webcams or 4 webcams all plugged into a Mac Mini, and now and literally if you start using, if I start, using the different keystrokes, I can start jumping to different, I can jump to different cameras. You could literally use
Keynote to actually switch. Can you go full screen on anything so you can? I'm thinking it'd be great for screen captures or screen shares.
Yeah, you can totally do it. So if I hit, let me go over to the.
Like if I were going to, this is OBS Studio, but better in a way.
Well, I don't know if it's better than OBS Studio. It's just different, but it gives you a lot of tools. The main thing is that you have all the tools that you have with Keynote. So you're in here, and you're just moving your video around. But that's a video frame. And it's just super
there latency?
Powerful.
Is it pretty quick?
The latency is almost 0. Wow. I mean, you can see me in the corner. Yeah. I'm up here. Yeah. So if I go,
it's really good.
It's so the latency is very low. And so you have, you can definitely go full screen. I mean, so if I just built another, like if I, copy this, copy this.
How do you get the camera? Is there just an embed camera?
You basically, if you want to add a new one, you just go to media, you go down to live video.
Oh my God, that's easy as it can be.
Yeah, and then you say, and if you want, so that's really if I want to choose.
Oh, teachers should be.
I just turned the camera off.
Teachers should totally be using this.
Yeah,
but even I'm thinking of, screencasts online and stuff like that. You could record it and make a screencast very nicely, I think.
That's what one of the folks, and if you look at our Saturday office hours that we did with educators, that's exactly what was done. Is he put together an entire video, and that's the secret to this is that really Keynote is the easiest. Like I want to build a video for my class, for my company, for whatever. I don't know how to use Motion or Final Cut or iMovie or any of these other apps. I just want to throw together videos, and you can totally just throw it in.
Can you do screen capture too? Could I have a live screen?
Yeah. So you can. You can. You'd have to do a live screen. You would need it to go to. You'd have to go out. So this is the one thing that isn't working right now. Is that there's no way to take virtual cameras and put them in, but you could, you can share your Apple TV as a source. You can also, so you can share an Apple TV.
Oh, I see. And then you'd go, and then you'd live.
You could play,
AirPlay to the Apple TV,
and then you have it.
You'd need 2 computers though, because the Keynote would be. Oh, I guess you got a Keynote and a second screen.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm using is to do screens, I'm doing.
That's why you have 3 Mac Minis in the studio.
Well, this one's the presentation Mac Mini. The other one is this is the one that does the Telestrator, is my other Mac Mini.
Oh, that's
And then
cool.
I just have a work one.
What software do you use for the Telestrator?
I made it.
Aww.
so anyway, so this is my Telestrator software. So
that's really good.
Anyway,
what'd you make that in?
Xcode.
Wow.
So anyway,
that's really fast.
I didn't write it. I designed it. A friend of mine is really smart.
That's really cool.
Wrote it. Mark Granger put it together for me. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to let anybody have that?
I am trying to. Here's the problem is that the person who wrote it for me, wrote it over like a weekend, and then got a job, and it's hard, it's complicated if he finishes it. So I'm trying to find if you're out there, you can contact me. I'm trying to find a good programmer that wants to clean.
Swift?
It's not in Swift. I want to update it and make sure. My big thing is I don't want to put out an app that people, like it works for me, but it crashes every once in a while.
UI
and it does it. Well, but it crashes every once in a while and it does a bunch of weird things. And so it works for me for me, but I would want to sit down and develop the app before I put it. I don't want a bunch of 1 stars of like, it crashed.
Right.
I was like, so anyway, so I do plan. I have a whole line of apps that I'm working on right now.
I'm so ADD. I think I should really learn Swift. I should really learn. I mean, it's hopeless.
You need more Leos.
Yeah.
I need more years is what I need.
I keep on thinking that I'm going to take like a couple months off and do, coding with Chris and do, kind of walk through the videos. And I get through a couple of them and I start to get my head around it. And then I just get busy again.
Yeah.
Doing work that I get paid to do. So
yeah, that's me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's really
very cool. I'm going to have to start playing with that. That's pretty impressive.
Super. Like if you're presenting, I mean, all of Keynote is really good, but the live video now means that you can finally do those presentations that, you don't want to be having someone watch the slide the whole time. It can be your webcam, or if you're a teacher, you can have your webcam and you can have an overhead webcam, that's looking down at something that you're talking about, that type of thing. So, and then you can keep on cutting to, videos and everything else. So you have all the access to all the different media that you have. And I think that it's just a really, overlooked. I mean, I've had this discussion before, but someone asked like, what app has made you the most money in the last 20 years? I was like, Keynote. Keynote has made me the most money by far, like millions, like not me millions, but companies that I work for, has made the millions because it's, it's how you pitch and it's how you talk about things and how you even just illustrate how we're going to do this project, So it's really powerful, and the live video just really takes it to a whole nother level.
Nice. Renee Ritchie, pick of the week.
So this is an oldie but a goodie. It's Neil Seibart's Above Avalon.
Oh,
Neil Seibart, if you're not familiar with him, he was a former sell-side analyst. I think he used to post as Sammy the Walrus back in the day. But since going independent, he's full in on being Neil Seibart. And Above Avalon, it's very different than like Stratechery from Ben Thompson, where he just focuses on Apple, but he really digs deep. He's one of the most accurate Apple analysts out there in terms of if you're interested in the stock or where he thinks it's moving or how the businesses are doing. Very accurate in terms of predictions. He often poo-poos the outrageous, outlandish numbers you hear for sales and gives you much more down to earth, much more accurate numbers. But he also, I love that he prosecutes a lot of the sensational articles that we see. Like something will come out and he'll dig into it and he'll say, wait, there's actually no source for this. They're quoting this person who's quoting them. It's like circle quoting at a certain point. And he does this daily newsletter. You subscribe to it. He also does it in podcast form. And he really gives very deep analysis around everything that involves Apple as a for-profit company. It's not going to be for everyone, but if that kind of stuff is really interesting to you, especially if you look at Apple from like a financial point of view, it's just the best thing out there. I read it every day, and it's tremendously valuable to me.
Add it to your RSS feeds. Put it in your Google Reader. I completely agree with you. It's Neil Seibart, aboveavalon.com. Thank you, Renee. Andy Iannacco, pick of the week.
One quick one, and that's really important, and one, wow, why am I so blurry? Oh well, probably should switch to
It's actually good. Your skin has never looked finer.
It's the Streisand effect, the original one before the internet. The United States government opened up its free COVID test kits for everybody program a day early. So if you go to covidtests.gov, they will give them your name and address, and they will mail you a 4-pack of rapid tests. You don't even have to pay for postage. You would expect that the news would be, wow, it went online like 3 or 4 hours ago, and now, of course, it's dead. No, I went online just before the show, and it worked just fine. And then I just tested it like 5 minutes ago, and the site is still responsive. So for some reason,
the government website's actually working.
Indeed. So again, I don't know if 4 test kits is going to be as useful as possible for a household with like 2 spouses.
They don't like my Hover email, unfortunately, because it's a .email address. But other than that, thank you, U.S. government. Get the U.S. Digital Services on that one.
Yeah,
but good. I just ordered 4. Thank you. Wow,
excellent. Yep. It's like a fire extinguisher. You want the COVID test kit like there when you need it. Like again, when
you don't want to have to go to the store to get one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned this before, like a few months ago, where I lost one of my elderly aunts. And it was a real struggle to decide that is it okay? Is it? Yeah, I mean, she was wonderful. And I really did want to attend the wake, but it was like all of her friends are also going to be in their like elderly. 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yeah. Should I go even with a mask on, and will I introduce am I asymptomatic? Had I had this was before like these at-home test kits were available, I might have taken the risk with some other mitigations if I'd been able to take a rapid test like 3 or 4 hours before considering leaving, and if that turned out negative, and I would have also done other mitigations. But these are reasons why it's good to have this just standing by for that moment before you go to a party, before you go to an event where you think it's okay, but maybe I should just test anyway. But again, as you said, it's people. Most of the message traffic about this online is like, oh my god, the site is actually working. It gave me confirmation. It was very easy. I didn't have to. It didn't ask me to authenticate or validate anything.
Great. It was instant. Very nice. Yeah.
But so that's one free thing. The other one is also free, although I did a buy a coffee thing for this developer. It's a plugin for every popular browser except for Safari that adds multi-select functions to the YouTube interface. So my problem was that I've been a YouTube user since shortly after it launched, and you know how it happens where you have the watch later button where you're scrolling, you're on Reddit or whatever, you say, oh, I think I'd like to see that later, but not right now. So okay, easy peasy, just click on the watch later button. And after like 10, 15 years of this, you always add stuff faster than you watch it, and you watch stuff faster than you delete stuff from watch later. So I quickly hit my 5,000 video limit, and was like, for like the past 8-9 months, I couldn't add more stuff until I go on my phone or something and just like manually delete like 100 videos from watch later, because it doesn't the interface doesn't have a select all or multi-select. This one, just install the plugin, and suddenly just anytime you access YouTube, now there's a checkbox and another little 3-dot menu next to each item, and just click on this, say yes, please select all. The select all will affect all of the videos that are inside the window at this time. So if you have a scrolling list, the user interface will have preloaded 100 videos, so it will only select 100. But that meant that I could get from 5,000 videos copied into a backup playlist in 5 or 10 minutes, and suddenly after a year or so, this big problem had been solved. I don't know why YouTube does not support multiple selection or even a select all. Oh well, but it's regularly updated. It has a lot of reviews, so it's not just stealing your data, but not just stealing your data. Well, maybe if it's stealing your data, it's also doing something valuable. But I quickly, as soon as I solved this problem, oh my god, yes sir, I will buy you a coffee. I will buy you multiple coffees. Thank you for solving this problem for me.
I just went to, thanks to ScooterX, to analytics.usa.gov that shows the traffic to U.S. government websites. There are 1.6 million people on government websites now. 1.3 million of them are on the free COVID home tests. So
well
wow,
done.
Whoever
built that, well done to the entire
I know
team.
Matt Cutts isn't at the USDS anymore, but boy, that's a hell of a job. You compare that to the Obamacare site when it launched a few years ago. That's why. By the way, that's why U.S. Digital Services exists. USDS exists because they wanted to help with the ACA website, and now they've done such a great job. And I have to think they might have had a little bit to do with this. Postal Service is like the top 4 websites out of this. Yep. And it's 6 out of the top 10. It's really big.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked how integrated it was. It was you place your order, then it gives you a United States Postal Service confirmation. It wasn't as though they have to, oh well, here's something that if you want to plug this into another site. It's almost as though the Postal Service and this website were being operated by the same bureaucracy.
It's incredible.
Oh my God.
This is actually a great page too. Thank you for this page. Yeah. Almost half of the browsers are Chrome, but 35% Safari. It's analytics.usa.gov, and it's real time. It gets updated. It's amazing. Firefox is smaller than Samsung Internet, but Safari is 35% of the visitors. More than half on mobile. iOS, 34% of all visits are iOS, 31% Windows.
Yeah. Also, you know what? This is giving us another insight that what kind of computers and operating systems and devices are used by people who actually believe that COVID is a thing and that self-testing would be a useful thing for their lives and other people's lives. It's possible this is not just a look at how many the disparity between different operating systems. It's like if we had what percentage of the internet that accesses like ESPN.com does this reflect the same thing, or is this data going to give us insights into what kind of devices are owned by people who deny COVID?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. That's very cool. That's site. a lot of business.
It's really well designed.
Isn't this a good site?
Yeah, I think
it's pretty. Bet you USDS on this one as well. Wow. No, it's the GSA. Analytics.usa.gov is a product of the GSA's digital analytics program. It's hosted on cloud.gov. Wow.
Yeah, this was a big, and this is an expression of a big initiative during, I think,
the digital.gov initiative. Yeah.
Meaning specifically, we want to make government data and government resources more available, and it wasn't just we'll have a place where you can download tax forms more easily. It was it's also useful to create an analytics page like this so people can have access to the same data that government is seeing.
Well, and this is a really good example of why you need something like this COVID home tests. I mean, right away, really good, very nice. Thank you for that tip of the week. I have ordered 4, hoping I never have to use them. I don't. Yep. John wants to know what the expiration date is. I don't know. We'll find out when we get them, I guess.
I'm having an electrician come over tomorrow, so I actually took a rapid test today. I probably should have done it like 3 hours beforehand, but whatever. And they're good for about till the end of the year, I think. But the freshness date on the kit that I opened was like at the very end of 2022.
Oh, good. Okay. By then, we won't need them anymore.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Andy and Akko. When are you going to be on GBH next?
The usual time, 12:30 in the afternoon on Friday. Just go to wgbhnews.org to listen to it, stream it live or later.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Rumsleg's master, Alex Lindsay. We saw that you have a Rumsleg cam. That's pretty impressive.
I do. Yeah.
Office hours.global. What is the mic you're using?
This is a Neumann TLM 102.
Do
you like it? Does it work?
It's really, it sounds great.
Does it sound okay?
Yeah, but it's really, really, really expensive.
It's not, it's expensive. It's not really, really expensive. In the mic world, it's not really, really expensive. The 103 is really anything over $1,000 ago, that's really expensive. Yeah. This is about $600, I think.
Oh, that's not awful.
$650. Yeah, it's not awful. It's not
a USB mic. Obviously you have a mixer and all.
No. This is going through. Yeah, this is going through sound devices, and then it's got noise assist because otherwise you would hear all the fans and everything. Because the problem really with it is that I've had to rebuild everything around me to use it because it's off. The off-axis rejection on the PR40 is great. This sounds better. I feel like I got more high end, but
it's a condenser, so it's got
But it picks up. Yeah, it picks up many things.
That's the problem.
So I'm constantly. I had to get a mute, and then I have a lot of times I move away from the mouse and use a trackpad, and then I just have to be conscious of what what's making noise.
Right.
It's not. So it's one of those things.
It's for a soundproof studio. It's for a real studio.
It is, so but I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and I'm pretty happy with the. We've been using it in office hours, and I got so many positive things. I decided to keep it. So
I should play with one of these, but I have a feeling
they're really nice. You'd have a hard time using it in that studio because you've got a lot of moving parts. But at home, I've had this for years. So I didn't buy it. I bought it, but I didn't buy it recently. I've had it for maybe almost a decade as my voiceover mic. Some people ask me to do a voiceover for them.
It's a perfect voiceover mic.
I use this mic, but it's very unforgiving when it comes to everything around you. So
that's why
my cat jumped up on me during a show, and you could hear it. People were like, "I can hear it purring." So
gives you that NPR sound, though. That's what's good about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Beautiful NPR sound.
Yeah. Au natural.
Au natural. Thank you, Alex. Renee Ritchie, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. What are you working on?
Oh, I just did like that incredibly long video going through the history of Lightning and USB-C and the aging out of various connectors and where we could go from here. So if you want to see why I didn't sleep much in the last 2 days, you can just go over to the YouTube channel and check that out.
youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. You'll find us at live.twit.tv every Tuesday around 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. That's when we record MacBreak Weekly. You don't have to watch live, of course. It's a podcast, and you can get on-demand copies of this episode and every episode we've done. This is episode 801. Did you get a cake for 801?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Get a cake
every episode.
803.
Only for the even numbers. I have some self-restraint.
We're all going to have to get a drum machine for the 808. We'll get there in 7 episodes. That should be all drums for that one. You can go to twit.tv/MBW to get a copy of this show and all 800 previous shows. You can also find the YouTube channel. It has all the videos, and you can go to your favorite podcast application and subscribe. You'll get it automatically that way. If you're watching live, chat live at irc.twit.tv or in our Discord. Club Twit's been very busy. The Club Twit Discord, we had, Andy, you had your Ask Me Anything fun.
Yep.
Really fun.
Super fun.
And that's available on the Twit Plus feed now. We also did Stacy's Book Club this week. We've got more coming up later in the week, I think, and in the future, including, by the way, the Untitled Linux show and the Giz Fizz and many other great shows. So join the club. Just go to twit.tv/clubtwit. $7 a month gets you ad-free versions of the shows, access to the Discord, and, of course, the Twit Plus feed. We do have other places you can interact offline with us. There's the Twit community at twit.community. That's a discourse forum. There's the Mastodon instance at twit.social. So please just interact with us whatever way makes you happy. We love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Now, I'm sad to say it's time to get back to work because break time is over. Bye-bye.
Have you ever read a tech news story and thought to yourself, man, I would love to talk to the person who wrote this to find out more information? Well, that's exactly what Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, do each and every week on Tech News Weekly. We read the stories that matter to us, we reach out to the people making a break in the tech news, and we invite them on to tell their story. And you can find it at twit.tv. Look for Tech News Weekly every Thursday.